but you can have a block for a store. You can have a block
Sure.
for something, yeah. And I don't see that being
I
happening.
mean, right now, I mean, I know you're closed in along your roads, but, you know, PennDOT is proposing, let's say, putting in 12-foot travel lanes and then a grass strip of 6 feet minimum, then maybe a curb, and then a 5-foot sidewalk. Sidewalks have to be wide enough for 2 wheelchairs to pass nowadays. And then we're gonna, you know, so,
Right, we got people here in newer developments complaining about speed bumps because their kids are on the road because they didn't put sidewalks in for another $1 a month over 30 years. I think we should be putting
right,
sidewalks.
so, but there is an opportunity, and actually the state right now is pushing for just what you're saying. Get people walking and bicycling and take some of the cars off those.
Hey, would it be wiser, in discussions earlier, or what does the group think? Do we ask Bruce to maybe get some comprehensive plans from all the neighboring communities? Show of hands, should he do that? So we have the ideas, and we don't have to necessarily build the mousetrap better, but just use what ideas that they've implemented, so.
And get the county plan too.
Pardon me?
Get the county plan too. The county has to have their own comprehensive plan, and you have to be relatively consistent with them, and they have to be relatively consistent with you. So that would be another start.
All right. Does that sound good, Bruce? All right. I know we had reviewed, who was it, Peters Township, when I was on the planning commission. All communities, once we're done, we have to give it to the others and share what it is that we've done, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
bordering communities.
Bordering. Okay. And last topic, or just a thought, was meeting dates and times. I don't know, just show of hands. Is Monday through Friday, is that typically the best, or anyone open for a Saturday meeting, or what's the pulse? Can I see a show of hands for a weekend, possibly to meet?
I think first you need to see
Okay, no one?
how many of these people are actually, like Bill said, he's not, you want to be on, how many of these people really want to be on it?
Okay,
I have a question too.
go ahead, yes.
And I mean no disrespect to anybody in the room, honestly, when I say that, but isn't it against some of the ordinances or the NPC code or something for someone who's serving on a board currently to be part of a committee like this?
You know what, we do have some investigation that we have to continue
Because it seems a
before.
little bit, disadvantageous for us to be planning something and then putting it in front of the planning commission to vote on.
Correct. So the idea is, yeah, we have some things to iron out on our end as supervisors, and the possibility of having that other buffer. So the planning commission checks on the work of the comprehensive plan and the supervisors. So we have to finish reading some of that, is that correct? So finish understanding what that is all about. But in the meantime, I think we still should have thoughts. May I hear your opinions as to what do you think we're missing? Do you think that we could have more business people in this group? Do you think we could have more, should we have someone from the school district, you know? So those are kind of thoughts that we have to get those. Yes, I'm sorry, Elizabeth first.
I believe that there should be people from all parts of our community.
Right.
Number two, all different levels of education. So if somebody is a laborer, they have ideas and they have knowledge, and they should be considered as well.
Correct. I agree, but Dawn solicited newspaper ads to get involvement, and that's why it's waited this long. We just weren't getting the results in. So maybe the thought is to use something more on the internet, or I'm still thinking that the idea is to print out these questionnaires and maybe hand them out personally to people and say, you know, would you like to be involved with the comprehensive plan?
How many people are here because of the newspaper ad?
One, see one hand. Michelle, you had something?
I just wanted to ask what kind of person you were looking for from the school district. I mean, I don't know anyone on the board, but I know plenty of parents that are you know, involved with the parent-teacher organizations, like parents that are on the parent council, that sort of thing.
You know, that was a recommendation, and I can see it. It was a recommendation from the Olson and Associates, landowners, farmers, business, school district, maybe a supervisor. I don't know if necessarily the supervisor has to be there. I mean, we could be, if we use that system of a group A that has a voting membership, there has to be a vote, there has to be some form of democratic process that says, yeah, let's vote on this and let's move it forward, or no, there's not enough interest. But then the second part is the group, the full group that brings the ideas, whether that's online or the group as an entity. Everyone is special and everyone is important. There should be the domestic engineers, the housewives, the moms, as well as our professionals in the ITs and the people that work for the township. But that's almost, I don't know what the other board feels, but I think that's something that you need to determine on your own. You know, how do we get those other people? This is the people's comprehensive plan. So if you need someone from the school board, Michelle, whatever your idea is, that's who you know, talk about it. Talk about it, see what you need. Maybe we need a fireman, maybe we need all those different walks of life.
Well, I was gonna say, I thought, is the school district person more of, say, this is how it's gonna impact the school districts or the schools we already have?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
But through
So someone on the board would make more sense.
Frank and I's 2 years involvement, I'm seeing that the school board is, yeah, they have their own agenda. They affect taxes and the taxes get raised, and you know, we might be watching our pennies over here, but they may be reserving $8 million in their coffers. Well, wait a minute. We're all in the same picture. We're all in the same.
Or we cut down housing and North Maine does 1,000 houses. And then
That's
we don't
right.
pay the school taxes. I mean, is there
That's right.
communication? I don't know. Is it legal? I don't know.
Some different neighboring communities and the issues they have with, they don't have a South Point. And the same house that might be in Cecil taxed at $1,500, it might be $6,000 over there. Well, how'd they get to that place? How did, you know, that's what we want to steer clear from. Some other things are why I asked Bruce, conversations with another supervisor was, how do we try to put in place, so this is the place that it would happen, 2-acre lots for new development, to see how our road system and the infrastructure is going to handle those new developments that are already going to come onto McConnell Road and Cool Valley. You know, can we put something like that in place? New houses have to have 1.5 acres or 2 acres. So be thinking on those kinds of things that you've seen elsewhere, or that are ideas that you could bring back to your group. Anything else from anybody? I guess we had a couple copies of the comprehensive plan from the past if anyone would like to look at. You'll have them there. I guess the best way to follow up or do to set the next meeting, or is that something you would like to handle now, or is that something that we can handle our administrative things and then either a phone call or a message or an email to go back to set up the next meeting, or is it something that we could just agree and set this one up to say?
I think the plan is to, at our next business meeting, to form the committee, name all the participants, probably from this list and the other names that we have, name that committee, set the first meeting date.
Okay.
Then once they get there, that committee will form itself. You know, they'll pick their dates, their plans and things like that. But they've got to set their own meeting date amongst themselves. But we have to set the first one. And I think we can do that at our March meeting. Not only name the committee, but also set a first date. And they'll show up, and then from there it's in their hands.
Very well.
I think you need to find out which one's the other.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Cobb was doing.
Yeah, I don't have his name on the list. This said don't put his name down. But Ron's question was, are all those names that are on the list, you do have interest to participate in one form or another, or be a voting member or a contributor? Is that a true statement? Yes?
I do.
I see all the hands. Is there anybody that does not desire to be, raise your hand? You don't desire to be? All right, very well. So it was because you sat next to Bob, right? All right. Very well. So just those two, yes?
Tom, were you saying that you were gonna discuss it at the next meeting, decide, name who's gonna be on at the next meeting?
I think our board has to assign a committee, basically name everybody, because for us, it's a formal process.
Right.
And then we're gonna pick a date for
Well,
the first meeting.
I was just wondering if you would put off doing that, because I know the next meeting is on Monday, and that doesn't give us very much time to try to find people from the board, or like the school board, or local
Oh, yeah,
businesses.
yeah, great point.
No, what happens if say it's these people on this list are on the committee that we name, once you have your first meeting, if you know people you want to bring, whether they're informal for one meeting just to give their input or to join it, then we can actually, next meeting, and name them as we get more names. We can subsequently add them, because it is a process. It's not, it could take a year and a half, or 2 years. So names can be added as you find new people.
Okay.
But we got to get the committee started. That's the whole
Agreed.
thing. We gotta set a date, have our first meeting.
Agreed. Okay, great, thanks.
Another thing I just want to mention, though, that we talked about, it was mentioned the economic impact, or the economic component. That usually has to do with commercial and industrial development. And a lot of times that's a bad word, saying the C word, commercial, or I word, the industrial. We talked about overgrowth, controlled growth, things like that. Growth kind of is going to be determined or suggested by your committee. And residential growth, there's usually no complaints about that as plans develop. But once you start mentioning the C word, like commercial development, which starts to impact people differently, and industrial developments, that it's just another whole thing that you have to deal with. When you recommend commercial and industrial growth, that fortifies the tax base, which we need, but it also brings out, they start bringing out other people, and they see that you're recommending new zones, like creating or suggesting new zones be created in different areas. So we said it was a fun thing, but it's also a tough thing, and it is important, because as you start proposing some zones, there's going to be people who will be impacted by that, will start coming to your meetings too. So it's just something that, it can be fun, but it's a serious, very serious thing, because comprehensive plan is generally about zoning. There's a lot to it, but it all boils down to, what all the areas of the township are zoned, because that's how they're going to develop based on the zone that they're in. Just the next step is, once there's zones, then you may have recommendations for what can be used in those particular types of zones, and what kind of spacings that we refer to on individual lot sizes. But the basic thing is actually zoning in the township.
And I think, like Bill, like you said, a lot of this is already in the ordinances. Like you said about more green space and everything in these developments. You're going to have to refer back to the township ordinance to see where they fall at.
Again, like the agricultural zoning thing, that hasn't really been active lately. We need to protect our agriculture.
There is no agricultural zoning in Cecil, I don't think.
It's low density one.
There's R1, R2, R3.
Low density one?
No, there is no agricultural zone in the township, and it'll never happen.
But the farms
If you
are considered
mention
low density
the
residential.
agricultural zone, all the property owners and farmers will come out in mass, and they'll want to string you up.
No,
It's-
that's not